Welcome to Building Great People, the podcast where we explore how leaders in business and community are shaping the future by investing in the people who make it all happen. Let's get started. Welcome back to Building Great People. Today I'm joined with Mark Blaze. So excited to have you here. We're just so honored to have you. I've met you recently, a couple weeks ago actually, but I've heard great things about you for really several years now working with Leo. So can you tell us a little bit about you? What's your background?
Wow. Grew up in England, came over to college in the US on a college golf scholarship, got here and fell in love with this country. To me, when they talk about the land of opportunity, I just got here and saw that. Having grown up in England where, you can grow up in here's who you're with, here's your family, here's your background, and there are going to be some restrictions. Whereas the US, to me, I was like, wow, what a place. Went to grad school, and it was not because of any great academic pursuit. It was because, hey, I can stay in this country 2 more years. I have since, I'm married, I have kids, wife and kids, all American. I have subsequently become an American citizen, which I'm very proud of.
Yeah, congrats.
So had opportunities to work. I was a sales guy at heart, but, first sales job I had, actually the first job I had was a great opportunity, really good learning experience. I prepared speeches for the CEO, president, and the vice president of marketing for a publicly traded company. And I would just meet with all the executives and put together a speech for them. Great experience because I got to meet a lot of leaders and learn from them. The publicly traded part was interesting because the numbers, I would give them a speech and the whole speech would be wonderful, in my opinion, wonderful. I mean, they didn't edit much, except they seemed to edit the actual financials, which was always a bit disturbing. So I didn't see that as a long-term venture. And then got into sales, and through sales, I probably was one of the stereotypical, I did well at sales. So the first thing a lot of companies do is offer to promote their salesperson.
Yeah.
Not always the best strategy, but I feel thrived and enjoyed the opportunity to go into a leadership role, work with people. It sounds corny, the sales guy saying this, but I'm a people person. I enjoy interaction with people.
Yeah.
And so I guess that's how, through my career, ended up in leadership roles.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you say that you're a sales guy. Usually I'm kind of a little bit trying to steer away from salespeople. You don't present that. And so I think that's amazing because I've always heard, great salespeople you'll never know, right? Because they love people. They take care of people. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. I recently was asked, I was going through a process and someone said, well, and I could tell they were very concerned. They thought, here's the sales guy. And I said, I truly believe this, when I meet people, the first thing I want to do is find out what are their needs? How can I help them? I think if you then can achieve that, learn, understand what their needs are, help people, it then becomes an organic process to where people then in return reciprocate helping you. And that might be in the form of a sale. It might be in the form of an employee performing the activities and tasks that you're looking for them to achieve. But it really, I think it starts with understanding what others' needs are.
Yeah. Sounds like leadership.
Yeah. I mean, it really, I would agree with you on that. It's, I think I've learned from just watching and trying to emulate leaders. You referenced Leo earlier. I mean, Leo is a brilliant salesperson, but he is an even better leader.
Yeah.
And I see that. So I've just tried to emulate people that I see that do things well. When I've screwed things up, I've tried to learn from it.
Yeah.
And then one of the things as a leader I've tried to do is communicate to others, here was my screw up. Please don't touch the hot stove, even though mom and dad said don't touch it. It's because it hurts.
Yeah.
And I feel that's been helpful.
Yeah. Well, this is kind of a little strange, but that's what this podcast is about kind of weird leadership situations, right? But one of the things I first noticed about you is your demeanor and how calm you are in situations. And I don't know if that's always been the case.
Ask my wife and my kids. I mean,
yeah, but I do think you present a level of confidence that's authentic. The way you speak, it does, at least for my interactions with you, and limited in that, you're able to present information in a way that I think brings people in, and it's not trying to get too excited or exuberant in whatever you're talking about.
Over the years, I've learned that, your highs don't need to be too high. Your lows shouldn't be too low. It's, because again, especially if you're in leadership, your team needs to, they feed off your energy. And I think that's important to help your team. It's a good lesson I learned from, again, what you'll hear as a common theme is I've learned from people watching, people that I respected and valued how they performed. I can think of a gentleman, one of my first sales roles was a gentleman called 𝗟𝗲, great leader. And Jeff, he just would maintain that demeanor. If I thought the sky was falling, he'd assure me it wasn't.
Yeah.
If I thought I'd just broken the world record, he'd assure me it wasn't. So I think that's been helpful to me.
Yeah. That rock, that foundation is so important in leadership, and it's hard to learn. I don't know if you found it hard to learn. I'm usually can get very excited very quickly, and I've
Absolutely.
had to learn how to just create a consistent, mood and attitude in the way I talk with people and work with people.
Totally. Yeah. It's I agree with you there. It's because, and I think the way you become more effective is you understand the value to the other person.
Yeah.
Again, there's times I want to just be, yes, this is so great, or screaming on the other side of the spectrum. But if it's not going to benefit the others, what's the most beneficial strategy?
Yeah. I love that. I think in leadership, we're put in a lot of difficult situations, right? That's part of what we're invited into, right? That's part of that calling. I know in my early days in leadership, and I still feel like I'm a novice in this leadership journey, but it is very easy, like I said, to get pulled into emotional situations where, especially when people on your team are bringing you issues that you could affect, but how you say things in that situation matter, and it carries a lot of weight. And so I still tend to want to get emotional with them. Like, I can't believe that happened, or, I'm going to address this ASAP. Thinking back in your journey, were there times that you did that and then you kind of ate it later on by doing that?
So we know Jeff Truitt.
Mm-hmm.
When Jeff and I used to work together, he'd work for me, and we laugh about this, but he's been working for me in a sales position, and, I get the phone rings on a late Sunday afternoon, and he's like, "Hey, boss, I'm not going to be coming in the next few days." My immediate response is, "What the heck? What are you talking about? You're not coming into work the next few days." And there's a level of, I wish I could say it better, but there was almost like an anger towards, why are you not going to be coming in to do what we're looking to do? And then he hits me square between the eyes and is like, "So, Jim Durrett, myself," and I could go through the list. I call them the 𝗪𝗏𝗃 Mafia. Yeah. And he says, "We were watching the news, and there's been a tornado that swept through Oklahoma. Let's pick Oklahoma as a place, obviously." And he said, "And we've got some trucks, we've got water, we've got blankets, and we're going to go out there and we're going to help some people." Huh. So how do you think I felt after I'm like, well... And, and it is moments like that I've learned from, because you need to know the full story.
Yep.
I think it's important with, if I give you an example, I had a sales team, and we had an employee that was a great employee, service employee. And we were in a meeting, and some of the sales team were talking about how they weren't that impressed with how he was performing. And I asked them, I said, "Do you know what's going on in his life?" And at the time, his son was in Afghanistan. And I said, "Do you think he really cares about what we're doing right now?" I go, I know I wouldn't if my son was there.
Yeah.
And I think it's important if you know your people, know what's going on in their lives. I do think it's important on the other side as an employee, you should be respectful of, there's a point where you still have a responsibility to the organization to perform at your best.
Yep.
But understanding what's going on in each of our lives is an important thing. It helps us, communicate more effectively.
Yeah. As you started to talk just there, I actually wrote down what's important to your team, right? Like what's important to the individual. And so,
I could tell you, the 𝗟𝗏 team, when I first met them, if they see this, they'll laugh. One, we talked about, okay, what are your goals? And a commission check for a salesperson, that's not a true goal.
Yeah.
That helps you achieve some of your goals, we've got one said, I really would love to be able to buy a loaded Audi A5.
Yeah.
Now I'll bet, and we've talked about this, that will probably change over the time.
Yeah.
Another wants to reach a point where they get financial security so that they can invest in some laundromats that they can then in turn give to their kids down the road.
Yeah.
That's closer to what I'm talking about in terms of the why. I'm a huge, and then another is I want to be able to buy my first home. Mm-hmm. Those are things that resonate. It's more than $1 on a commission check. It's like, those are the things that bring us to why we do it. It's, I've got on my computer screen and I know it, the premise of it, but I'll mess up part of the verbiage. But it talks about people don't quit doing what they do. They forget the purpose of why they do it. And if you know your purpose, Simon Sinek, start with why. And I'll give an even easier one. Have you ever seen the movie City Slickers?
Yeah, it's been a while, but yes.
Curly, the old wily cowboy he's talking to Billy Crystal, and he says, you just got to know you're it. And if you understand your it of why you do things, you're so much ahead of the curve.
Yeah, absolutely. That driving force of who we are. And I think, as an individual that does do self-reflection,
commend you for that, because that's a mature thing.
Well, I don't know if I do it great, but I do it. And so I think understanding your purpose, and that changes when you have kids, changes when you're married, it changes in our stages of life. But I think being able to understand that also puts a lot of things into perspective, and also leads to a place where if you are leading others, or you're just being a leader in what you do, your mindset is a lot different in that situation. So when you go through tough things at home or in your personal life, or you're dealing with individuals that have tough stuff going on, because life is messy, life is hard sometimes, you can really, I think, meet people where they're at. And that's a big difference.
Totally agree. Yeah. It's, having empathy. You may be communicating with an employee that, frankly, isn't the best fit. I've hired people thinking they were going to be fantastic fit, and they didn't turn out to be. I've made that mistake. But I think, and it's Jeff Truitt and I have shared this and over the years, if you're in that situation, I think you as a leader have a responsibility to help someone find a better fit.
Yeah.
I mean, it may not be in the same organization. It may be in a different position within the organization. I think as a leader, you always have that responsibility, because having that empathy, and to your point, life is messy. Yeah. But good Lord doesn't put more on our plates than we can handle. May feel like it at times, but he doesn't. So,
we talk about the bus a lot of times. You'll hear many leaders talk about it. And Leo, I was first introduced to this concept probably 6 years ago by Leo. He'd say, just get on the bus. Had no idea what he was talking about. And as time went on, he would say things like, well, we just don't have them in the right seat. They're good people, but we don't have them in the right seat. Or maybe they're on the wrong bus, right? And it's funny during that journey of 6 years with him that I've heard that from other leaders. Come to find out, there's a book, Good to Great, that actually talks about it. If you ask Leo, he'll say he wrote it before that guy wrote it. But I think there is a lot of value to that there are good people that it just may not be on the right bus or the right seat. How do you deal with that?
Probably a good learning experience that. I felt like I was driving the right bus that everybody could fit on. I think all leaders may have, because I believed in what we were doing. And a good aha moment is I had a young lady stepped in my office one time and said, "Hey, I'm leaving." And I was like, oh no, and I was waiting to go back to my sales, put my sales hat on and sell her on why you need to stay on the bus.
Yeah.
And I remember she said, "You know what? I've prayed about it and I've got an opportunity and I'm going to go teach in a Christian school in Washington, D.C. And I feel drawn there and this is where I need to be." That was one of my moments where I realized not everybody belongs on the same bus.
Yeah.
And it was a tough but great moment for me, because how could I argue that?
Yeah.
We were selling copiers.
Yeah.
That's
a big difference.
Let's change the world selling copiers one at a time versus I'm going to go to a school for underserved kids to help bring them a message that will change their lives for eternity.
Yeah.
That's a little different.
Yeah.
So there's, as we said, you're dead right. There's different buses.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think part of our job when we're in those positions is to help develop people. And it's not just the skills, right? It's also this mindset. Help you discover what you're passionate about. What are you great at? What's your why? And the end result may not be, I get to keep this amazing person on my team. Right. The end result is this person's going to go flourish and they're going to do amazing things because we were able to help them unlock that hidden potential there, or that hidden purpose that was driving them. And it's pretty cool when that happens, because they go and usually just have a ball at whatever they're doing and they enjoy life, and they may not be famous. They may not do anything radical, but they are for someone's life, right?
Absolutely. They're impactful. On that perspective, I've watched, and I've had the good fortune. I've been blessed with having some amazing people, and I enjoy the relationships you develop. Now, there's some people, I'm clear from my former leadership style. I know there's people that probably was too tough on. I wasn't a great leader at all. And some great people left because of me, not because of the bus, because, and that's your point where, I do analyze, I think about my impact on outcomes. Yeah. Because quite frankly, a lot of times I've been the reason for things not to go in the way I wanted.
Yeah. Yeah. Same. Feel that way.
It really, from that standpoint, I think it's important that we do that. Yeah. And continue that, because I'll never be as good a leader as I aspire to be. Yeah. But I can keep trying to get to that point.
I say that all the time. We don't expect people to be great leaders. We expect them to be on the journey to be a great leader, right? And there's really no destination, right? Because anyone who thinks they got it figured out probably doesn't. But we also know people that are in our lives that are great leaders, and they'd sit here and say the same thing. They're not great leaders. They would say those words, and it is truly a journey, and it's a lot of mistakes. It's some hopefully good moments, but it's always coming back and really learning and continuing a lifelong process of learning of how to be a leader. And for those who listen, I do want to, state this. We don't talk about this enough. Leadership is not just about being in a position of power. Leadership involves our daily lives, our home lives. We can be leaders in our fields. We can be leaders in our community groups, our churches. And again, it doesn't have to be an usher at church or a deacon at church. It's just someone who is living life with other people in their church, right? Like, we get tied up, I think, sometimes on, well, I'm not a leader. I don't need to be a leader. And the reality is, I think everyone has skills that can push them towards being a leader. It's just, are you willing to accept that responsibility? Because it's a heavy responsibility.
Yeah. And it's heavy in one sense, but I think if we are aware and look And, when you look at whether it's work, outside work, it's community. I mean, we live in community, and we all have opportunities every day where we can be impactful. I mean, that's a trait of leadership.
Absolutely.
It's not based off a title. It's based off your behaviors.
Yeah.
I do think one of the things that we sometimes in society, we've moved in a direction where I don't feel we respect our elders and the skills and their experience and their knowledge and their wisdom that they can bring. So I'm always looking for those folks to help me.
Yeah.
I'd be foolish not to take advice from someone that's already, gone down the path.
Absolutely.
But that's something it's just a change. On the flip side, who am I to discount that just because of someone's age that they don't have leadership traits and skills?
Yeah.
Because it can be out of the mouths of babes that can be phenomenal advice.
Yeah. We talked a little bit before we got started today about mentorship, and I think there is a formal process of some mentorship programs, right? And things that you might set up with an individual. But what you just spoke to is really a core trait that I think we do miss over a lot in this society. We've become very more individualistic, right? It's about me and how I do things, or be yourself, be your true self. But these are kind of falsehoods. They lead you down kind of a wrong path. And I think back to my time growing up and this old adage of like your parents can tell you something, but when someone else tells you it has more impact. My parents were very wise. My dad was very wise. You actually met him a minute ago. I don't think you realized that was my dad, Andy.
I didn't realize that was your father.
Yeah. I don't say it, as probably as public as I should, but he was very impactful, knowing that I would not take a lot of his advice being a kid. But what he did was set up really strong men in my life that he knew had similar values to him and what he wanted for my life. And they would say the things that he was already telling me. I just had to learn it a little later in life, or hear it from this guy who sat me down and said, hey, you really screwed this up, so we're going to talk through it. But as I grew older and I learned that wisdom is in part an age thing, right? And just because the person's not perfect, right? That there's no perfect role model except maybe Jesus himself.
I agree that.
Those life experiences change your whole perspective. And it wasn't until I had kids that I understood my colleagues that had kids and came in disheveled sometimes or rushing home to take care of a sick one. You don't know that until later. And so I think age does bring some wisdom that is missed a lot.
I think, and I think the good Lord has a sense of humor in how things that come into our lives. And the one that resonated to me was this is going to hurt me more than you. And I'm thinking, as my parent, my mom's about to give me a spanking that was fully deserved.
Yeah.
But I didn't understand that till I had kids.
Yeah.
And that you can relate as a parent. Those are the times. And you know what? You take that kind of experience, same things go into business too. And I think as a mature, again, I over time have always tried to communicate with employees to where they understand, we can be far more effective when we understand each other. And I've never had, I can look right in the camera, I never have had anybody that I didn't hope, desire, and expect to be successful. I've had people that weren't successful in the roles.
Yeah.
But I think it's important for employees to understand, the boss is probably going to be your biggest cheerleader and support system and wants to help.
Yeah.
But I think there's a culture at times to where it's an us and them.
Yeah.
And that's not the way it needs to be.
Yeah.
It's like a we.
Yeah.
I think I heard it at the foundation dinner, and it was just, they said, change the me to we.
Yeah.
I mean, all you need to do is actually, and I was sitting there going, that's awesome. Just turn it the other way around.
Yeah.
That ladder, just flip it.
Yeah.
It goes from an M to a W.
Yeah. It's perfect.
And huge change in that.
Yep. And that's a mindset thing, right? And
Totally.
When you're intentional about who you hire, which sounds like you were probably very intentional in your hires.
I would love to say there was a time early in my career where it was, I mean, and I say this, I learned the mistake of, just trying to find the first person that would say yes.
Yeah.
And it's, and that was an indication of how poor a leader I was at that time. That's not that individual that I hired.
Yeah.
That was a flaw in myself.
Yeah.
But I've tried to learn that is not the best strategy, and it's not tried to learn. I know it isn't.
Yeah. Well, I want to kind of lean into a little bit of formal leadership in a role being a boss, right?
Mm-hmm.
And being in that supervisor role. There are times when you have to discipline or hold accountable, which is really what I like to get at. Your teams. In those situations, how did you handle it? Maybe sometimes where you didn't handle it great, but
Poorly at
where
times.
did you get to? Yeah.
Well, I think, the accountability, it can come back to activities, performance, things of that nature, essentially in business. But I think one of the important things over time is then going back to what we discussed earlier. What's the impact for the individual? What's the impact for the team? No one wants to work. If you ask a group, hey, anybody want to work with, where there's poor standards? No one wants to be part of a team that has poor standards. At least they'll verbalize that. So that helps with accountability, in my opinion. If you set part of the process, though, is having clear expectations on both parties. It's good for the employee. If you perform in this manner, and this is the expectations I have from you, you can expect this in return.
Yeah.
And that goes back to that's a mutual accountability, which is healthy.
Yeah.
That's expectations, standards, these things are all good for a healthy organization, structure, you name it.
Yeah.
Take a pick, any of the above.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to have clarity. People got to know what game they're playing and how to win.
If someone comes back to you, well, I didn't know or understand that, that's where you really then need to take the pause and say, okay, is the fault, does it lie with me for poor communication of that? Yeah. Now, that said, I think if you've been in leadership long enough, unfortunately, you're going to have some individuals that may come back and say, well, I didn't understand that. And you can recap and think, you know what, it's been communicated very effectively.
Yeah.
And at that point, there's probably another bus that's needed.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I use that disclaimer a lot when I talk about leadership with different groups. There's always bad actors too out there, and we have to separate that group. That exists anywhere in any industry, right?
Oh, I'm going to write a book eventually.
Yeah,
it's going to be called "The Crap They Didn't Tell Me in the Interview."
I love that.
And it's wow, I didn't realize you were on crack.
Yeah, just, legitimately. Yeah.
I mean, kidding apart, but it's just again, transparency. If you can get someone at the very beginning of a relationship, the more transparent you can be, the potential for a greater relationship.
Yeah. I don't know if you feel this way, but I relate it back to my time growing up playing soccer, and I coached for a while, but I very much feel like I'm a coach in many ways. And this game has expectations of how we win and what we do. The expectation to be great, right? Like I want great people around me. The reality is I fall short. That's why I'm not playing as much as I at least want to. And with that, I'm looking for the right people to be on that field. And so just like a team, when you have a list on your roster, you have your top performers and you have your performers that maybe aren't quite there. And then you have your low performers. But I think like a great team, my lowest performers should be still great people. And they fit the dynamic, the culture everything. Totally. And when they don't, there is a disruptance and there is an atmosphere that's like, oh, this isn't right. And we need to fix it. And how do we get back to, true north, if you will, right? How do we get back to the game? Have you experienced that where you thought you had it and then someone kind of came in or kind of creeped in and then you had to reset?
Yeah. And I think, you know, as a leader, though, the challenge there, I think if you really think and trust your gut, the failings I've had in that experience, truthfully, I probably realized they were coming. Mm-hmm. There's a great book. It's called Who, relating to hiring and team and culture. And it talks to expectations. It talks to communicating those. It talks to making sure you have people that are a fit for your culture. If they're not going to fit on your culture, that should be the immediate time they need to find another bus.
Yeah.
Because to your point, it would be a disruption.
Yeah.
You know, I learned it was a training class years and years ago. A leader has a responsibility to help that team achieve results they didn't even realize were possible. Mm. If you can do that, I think the net result is the relationship goes through the roof. Absolutely. Because you've obviously helped someone achieve something. Yeah. And at the same time, you're going to receive those results as well as the leader.
Yeah.
But I think the culture factor and having the right fits within the team.
Yeah.
Because we all know, we can all speak to, you know, if you love sports, which I do, there's so many examples of the winning team didn't have all the superstars.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was a team.
Absolutely.
And they bought into a goal, and it was a common goal, and they just gave everything they can. I mean, and it's, you know, whether it's sports, military, that's so powerful.
Yeah.
And, you know, and the beauty of that as well is it's a team, there's a joy to being part of a team when you succeed.
Yeah.
You can think as coaching.
Absolutely.
There's been times where you've had success. I had one of the, you know, I think of, yes, I coached soccer at one time. I mean, couldn't play as well as you, couldn't coach as well as you. And I was blessed with some great kids, and we had fun. Mm-hmm. And I think back as one of the most memorable, enjoyable times was coaching that team, because I watched them buy into something and achieve it probably beyond all of our wildest expectations.
Yeah.
And this isn't a rec league. Let's not talk. This isn't where any professional. This was kids that were 12 years old, and we had a blast.
Yep.
And I think that's important as well for leaders to remember. It's always got to be fun. Mm-hmm. Can't be fun all the time.
Yeah.
But it needs to have a core of fun, because when you've got a team, for instance, in work, those individuals are going to spend more time doing that than the only thing I always used to tease, and I'd say the only thing that competes for your time is probably sleep, and that's because you have 7 days a week, and most jobs will have 5.
Yeah.
But other than that, think about it. We take away from their families, with their friends. We have their time.
Yeah.
So if it's not fun,
yeah,
you know, and we've all seen where people don't leave organizations because of money. That's, you know, if the root of it will never be that as the true root. There's other reasons. And it usually comes back to they're not enjoying it.
Yeah. 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 It's funny. There was another conversation before you came in, and that was very much a true statement in that conversation that, you know, money provides the things that we need, right? Our foundation of living. But those other things of feeling value, of fun, of enjoying the people you're working with, understanding the expectations, not being set up for failure, really, right?
Yeah.
They really lead to success. But for me, I think what it does is it puts a value on the individual, and it says, "Hey, you're important. You're valued here. We want you here." And they don't dread coming to work. And how many people dread going to their work every day?
Yeah, that's good. That's, to me, that is so sad.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a conversation with an employee one time, and I said, you know, it was someone we were relatively new in our relationship as boss and employee, and I said, I'm going to guess that you wake up on Sundays, you dread coming to work on Monday morning. And that's no way to live.
That's awful. Yeah.
It's just no way to live.
Yeah.
That's not what we're meant meant for.
Yeah.
And so, to your point, we've got to do that. We have a responsibility as leaders.
Yeah. We don't have to like everything we do, but we can create environments where people do have that enjoyment and fulfillment. And I think understanding who our teams are, what it goes back to understanding what's important to them. We can find also ways to help them shine outside of that. And that's really important. But we're focusing on work, but that really is everything. Go back to your statement, it's community, right? And how do we do that? How do we have deep relationships with people, friendships that really are true and meaningful? Well, it's finding what's valuable to them, what's important to them, and helping them in that. You can't just be a taker. You got to give a lot. Sometimes to the point it is a little tiring, but it doesn't seem that way. It doesn't seem like work when you really genuinely care about people.
Yeah, I may screw this up in how I verbalize it, but great sermon I heard, and it talked about how we have, if we deem ourselves somewhat as a have, there's haves and have-nots in the world. The responsibility of the haves is to help the have-nots have. And the reason being is, in reality, we're all have-nots.
And we're not talking about money there.
No.
Yeah.
That's, so, and I think if you apply those principles in your life rather than just thinking of it where it's defined, I mean, you can't be a great leader if it's 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, or whatever time it is, check out, that you're not a good human being.
Yeah. So true.
The best, and we know him well, and it's, this is not the Leo Appreciation podcast, although everybody should.
It's a good frame of reference. Yeah,
exactly. Leo is the real deal because it's all the time.
Yeah.
And that's why I see him as a great leader.
Yeah. Yeah. It's authentic.
That's it.
Yeah. And I think if we can kind of bring it home there, I think authentic leadership is one of the core principles that we see.
You can't fake it.
You can't.
People will see through it.
They really do. Yeah. And the reality is our lives are hard sometimes. There's tragic things that happen, but you can still be authentic through that. And the other amazing thing about having community is the people you have around you also bring you back home sometimes. They help ground you. They help uplift you. I'm going to butcher the saying, but you are who you're surrounding yourself with, essentially, right? And so you show me your friends, I'll show you who you are, or tell me who you are. And I think in leadership or just life in general, the people I want to surround myself are doing better than I am. And I hope to add some value to them so they let me hang around. But they're continually investing in me, and they're helping me when I'm going through tough things so I can be authentic in every other aspect that I have going on in life. And so when you can be authentic, you can be transparent, and you can truly care about people in a way that's not, what do you owe me type mentality.
We talked about mentorship, and I thought this was such a good line. And it talked about, we all should look for a mentor or mentors. But if you then are fortunate enough to where you reach a point where you can never you can't pay a mentor back, but you can pay it forward.
Absolutely.
And I think that's to your point. We look for those who are authentic. That's where life happens most effectively.
Yeah. Yeah. So to our audience and those listening today, I would say if you don't have a mentor formally, I think you would agree with me. You should be looking for that.
It's seeking. Have an intentionality about seeking out, a great mentor or mentors, because
different parts of our lives may need different people. Yeah.
But it's the best advice, because there are folks there that will help you in life.
Yeah. And I think that's probably the biggest takeaway I took away from this today. But I do think seeking and being intentional, finding mentorship, and then if you are at that level where you can give back, and sometimes you don't have to be the expert, but look for opportunities where you can start giving back and serving and helping others in their lives. And again, building community. What is your bus? What does your bus look like? What do the seats look like on your bus? And then being intentional of how do you put the right people in those seats, and building an authentic leadership lifestyle, because it is a lifestyle. It's not a wake up and when I go to work, I'm this way. When you're authentic, you can truly help others in a way that I think glorifies the mission of what our lives are supposed to be about, right?
Yeah, and the thing about it is, I look at what I've achieved in times pales to the reward of the feeling I get from watching others.
Yeah.
I mean, and be a mentor if you have those, if you can help, because the reward you get out of helping someone else is just, it surpasses what you can do yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, that's personally,
yeah.
I've seen that and experienced that.
Yeah. Don't chase money.
Oh,
care about people. Yeah.
That's it. The money takes care of itself if you do the right things.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this was Building Great People. We're so thankful, Mark.
It has
been, it's been a blessing to have you on board.
Be part of this. Thank you.
Well, I hope to have you back. I know you have a lot of stories too, and we didn't get to probably get into a lot of that. So we're going to invite you back to talk about some of those stories in the future. But just a reminder, this podcast is about real life leadership. These are the things that we read about in books, we hear on other podcasts, and other great leaders talk about the practice and the theory and the principles behind it. But what we really try to get into is leadership in the real world. These are people that we interview and really just take a moment to say, hey, it's messy. Tell us about the mess and tell us how do we get out of that sometimes. So thank you again, Mark, and thank you for listening. We'll see you next time. That's it for today's episode of Building Great People. Every leader has the power to shape the future by investing in and developing the people they lead. Keep leading with purpose, growing with heart, and empowering those around you. Strive to be the leader who elevates others, and together we'll continue building a better world. See you next time.